Khalif from Islandior and his mystical journey into the marine world. In a quiet, almost forgotten corner of the world lay a village called Islandior. It was a place where nature still whispered through the trees and the river's song could be heard at dawn. Life moved slowly in Islandior. The villagers were humble farmers, weavers, and fishers, and stories of magic and wonder were often exchanged around the fire at night, stories no one believed were real. Khalif was a curious boy of 12, born with a heart full of questions and a spirit that longed for something beyond the horizon. He would often wander far from his family's modest hut, his bare feet brushing against the grass, his eyes fixed on the shifting clouds. His favorite place in the entire village was the river that snaked through Islandior like a silver ribbon. It was said to be ancient, older than the oldest tree, and the village elders spoke of it with reverence. "Be cautious, child," his grandmother would say, "for there are things in the deep that have lived longer than men have spoken." But Khalif, with his mop of wild curls and insatiable curiosity, paid little heed. To him, the river was his sanctuary. On one particularly warm afternoon, he made his way there, intent on swimming. He dove into the cool waters, laughing, letting the current carry him. The light shimmered off the surface in golden hues. That's when he heard it, a melody. Soft at first, gentle as a breeze, then stronger. It wasn't like anything he had ever heard. It was neither human nor instrument but something more. His heart thudded in his chest, not from fear but awe. He looked around, confused, when suddenly, a glow beneath the water caught his eye. He swam closer. A figure emerged from the depths, first one, then another, and another. Their beauty was unearthly, with scales that shimmered like stars, eyes as deep as oceans, and hair that moved like seaweed in a gentle current. Mermaids. He tried to scream, to swim away, but he couldn't. The music wrapped around him like a cocoon, warm and inviting. The mermaids did not speak with words, but with thoughts that echoed in his mind. "Do not fear. You are chosen, Khalif of Islandior." Before he could protest, the river swallowed him whole. When Khalif awoke, he was no longer in the river he knew. The sky above him was not made of clouds, but glowing coral and crystalline waters. He was in the marine world, beneath the river, beneath the earth itself. An underwater kingdom stretched out before him, with towering spires of seashells and glowing sea creatures darting through the currents like birds in the sky. He could breathe, he could move, and he could understand the language of the water. The mermaids led him to their queen, a radiant being named 𝐬𝐻𝐻𝐻. She wore a crown of pearl and moonlight, and her eyes shimmered with galaxies. "Khalif," she said, "you have been called, as others have been before you, to learn the wisdom of the deep." He stayed with them. For days, months, years, time passed differently in the marine realm. Khalif grew, not just in body but in mind and spirit. He studied the ancient songs of the ocean, the healing properties of marine herbs, the memories stored in seashells. He learned to speak to dolphins, to call upon the sea winds, to listen to the heartbeat of the world. The mermaids taught him the sacred art of healing, not just wounds of the flesh, but of the soul. His touch could ease pain, his words could soothe madness. He was told he was not merely human anymore. He had become a vessel for the ocean's will, a bridge between land and sea. One day, 𝐬𝐻𝐻𝐻 summoned him. "It is time," she said. "Time for what?" Khalif asked, though he already felt the pull in his bones. To return. His heart clenched. But this is my home. It was your school, 𝐬𝐿indra replied gently. You were never meant to stay forever. Your people need you. The world is wounded, and you carry the salve. Go now, Khalif. Remember what you are. Remember what you have become. When Khalif returned to Islandior, many seasons had passed. The village had changed, but so had he. He emerged from the river not as a boy, but a young man with eyes that glowed faintly like moonlight on water. His return was a miracle. He had been presumed dead. His mother wept when she saw him. The villagers whispered, fearful yet awed. But they could not deny what they saw. The crops in Khalif's presence grew stronger. The sick found relief in his hands. The mad regained their minds. Animals followed him. Rain came when he called. His presence was calming, and his wisdom deep, far beyond his years. He never sought riches or praise. He lived humbly in a small hut by the river, always listening to its song. People from far lands began to travel to Islandior, seeking the healer by the river. Khalif never turned anyone away. One day, a child who had been mute from birth was brought to him. Khalif sat with her by the water, held her hands, and sang a song from the marine world. The river shimmered, and when he finished, the girl spoke her first words, "Thank you." The village changed around him. The land grew fertile, the animals multiplied, and for the first time in generations, there was peace. Khalif became a legend in his own time, Khalif of the waters, the boy who came back with the sea's gift. But it wasn't just healing he brought. He began to teach the people, to listen to nature, to respect the balance of the world, to treat water not as a resource but as a spirit, a being older than mankind. Yet, not all welcomed his ways. A few in the nearby regions, greedy warlords and merchants, feared his influence. They saw his powers as a threat. They accused him of witchcraft, of deception, of seducing the people away from progress. Khalif did not fight them. He simply smiled. And when they tried to bring harm to the village, they found their weapons rusting, their fires dying, and their soldiers disoriented by dreams of the ocean. Khalif had made a pact with the water. Years passed. Khalif aged, but slowly. His hair remained black, his skin unwrinkled. Children who had once been healed by him grew old and had children of their own. He became a guardian spirit of Islandior, still walking among the people, his laughter echoing like a gentle tide. One day, a great drought came to the neighboring lands. Rivers dried, crops withered, people despaired. The leaders who once scorned him now came in humility, kneeling before Khalif. "Help us," they begged. "Save us." Khalif looked at them, not with vengeance, but compassion. Water is life, and life must be respected. He led them to the great river, the place where he had first disappeared. He placed his hand on the water and whispered to it, not as a master, but as a friend. The river responded. It surged forth, spreading its veins across the cracked earth, bringing life once more. Trees blossomed, birds returned, children danced in the rain. And from that day, the world listened. The story of Khalif of Islandior spread across continents. He became a symbol of harmony, of the balance between nature and mankind. Scholars came to learn from him. Healers studied his methods. He never wrote a book, yet his teachings were etched in the lives he touched. One night, many years later, Khalif stood by the river, now an old man in body, but still glowing with an inner light. He heard the melody again, the song of the mermaids. A tear slid down his cheek, not from sorrow, but joy. The water shimmered, and from its depths rose the familiar forms, Sarilendra and her kin. She reached out a hand. "You have done well, Khalif of Islandior," she said. "It is time to rest." The villagers found his hut empty the next morning. Only a single pearl lay on his bed, and the river was singing. To this day, they say that if you listen closely to the river at dawn, you can hear Khalif's voice in its currents. A voice of healing. A voice of peace. A voice that reminds us, the water remembers.